Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy ABB back with a brand new video. Hope you guys are having a good day today. If not, hopefully I'm going to change that for you. So today we're going to be talking about the story time of my dog Bentley. Now, you guys don't know who my dog is, right? The dog I have now currently, his name's Nico. He's a French Bulldog, right? But the dog I had right before that was an American Bulldog, was named Bentley. And before Bentley, there was another dog. We've kind of went through a couple dogs after our main dog, or like the dog we've had for the longest, Justice, which as of today is the longest dog we ever had. You know, he was an American Bulldog. He was very humble, very nice. You know what I mean? He wouldn't bother anybody. He wasn't like a mean dog. You know, he never gave anyone problems. He always listened, right, et cetera, et cetera. So Bentley was the dog after Nitro, and Bentley and Nitro kind of had the same problem. I just feel like Bentley was a little bit more kinder, had more of a heart, and Nitro was just a little bit, he just bit everything. Bentley basically was a dog we got in 2019. I remember the first day we got him, right? I came back from school, I slept, I woke up, and, you know, mom comes home from getting the dog, and he's there, and it's just lit.
Buddy.
Well, you're really liking that thing.
He does like it. He'll be trashed in a couple more weeks, but...
Sure, if I'm not mistaken, he was about a little over a month old. So he wasn't very small. He wasn't very huge. He was about the same size as my cat, right? And he was a cool, he was a cool dog. He was a cool pet. Problems started to occur. We had a family friend, or my father had a friend of his who was unfortunately drunk all the time, and basically he had messed with the dog to the point where I think he traumatized him, right? Anytime this guy, what do we call him? We'll call him Brett. We'll call this guy Brett. Brett would always come over and he would always fuck with the dog. Every time that he would come over, right? The first time that he actually met my dog, you know what I mean? He saw him, he was playing around with him, right? But it got a little out of hand. I remember he had a beer in his hand, if I'm not mistaken, right? He was playing with the dog, and the dog had kind of like a weird leash where it was kind of like, it's one of these leashes, if I can pull it up right here. At this point, the dog wasn't even a year old. He was not, he was only like, I think 6 months, 5 months old. So basically, he starts scaring the shit out of him for some reason, right? He just starts scaring him. And, he's drunk and whatnot. So he just starts scaring him. He just starts going like literally trying to like a Hulk roar, like coming at him. And the dog would always try to run away. You know what I mean? Not only that, I remember this one time, vividly, me and my brother were there. He started pulling on the dog's leash, like basically choking him, and the dog was like trying to get away. Like, you know what I mean? And this is a little bit of a trigger warning, whatever you want to call it. This is actually a little bit of a serious story time, but I really couldn't figure out any other story times. It's kind of been hard to really come up with story time. He does that, and me and my brother were like, yo, chill out, bro. You're just a baby, bro. You're not supposed to do that. He's like, no, bro, that's a tough dog. You know what I mean? See, and he's trying to explain to us, trying to reason with us of what he just did. He's like, no, those type of dogs, they're big, the bulldogs, they can handle that kind of stuff. And we're just like, nah, bro, you gotta chill out, right? And that was the first encounter he had with the dog. And anytime Brett would come over, he would always scare the dog. He would always chase the dog as if, the dog was like gonna run away from someone that's gonna kill him, right? He would always like yell at him like, what? You know what I mean? Just scare the fuck out of him. It wasn't good. I also remember one time, he came over, this is 2019, right? He came over like New Year's 2019. And all I remember was, he just comes, he walks through the door and the dog just already hesitates to even he just freezes in shock. You know what I mean? And then he just turns away, he runs away. And not even run away, he would just walk away or just avoid him all completely, right? So he didn't the dog didn't like Brett. And Brett, I'm not saying he didn't like the dog, but obviously, Brett would always bully the dog. I mean, sure, he's a bulldog, but you can't just bully a dog like that, right? I'd say 9 months or maybe 9 months later, right? September 2020, right? Like during the pandemic, this is when shit got a little hectic, right? So this actually happens when I'm asleep. I just come home from school and I just fall asleep. That's all I remember. I just fall asleep. So, but all I remember was I'm waking up, as I'm like half asleep, half awake. I wake up and I just hear, what do I hear? I hear my father calling for my brother. Like, Stefan, get out here. And then my brother's just like, hey. You know what I mean? Like yelling at the dog. And I'm just thinking, like, what the hell's going on? He must be fucking around or some shit. I didn't even think much of it. I was tired. I was half asleep, half awake. I couldn't even, I could barely think. So basically, I wake up like 2 minutes later. I was like half asleep, half awake. I was jumping in and out of sleep. And then I hear this. No, Stefan, you don't understand. The dog fucked him up. The dog fucked him up. And at this point, I just woke up. I don't know what the hell happened. At first, I thought he was talking about the cat that I have, my little black cat. I'm thinking, what the fuck? Did he kill the cat? What the fuck? Yeah, I did not know. And then I remember, like, even before that, they were talking about getting a broom or some shit, like trying to poke the dog with the broom or whatever. And then they're wondering, yo, should we call the cops? Should we call police, dog patrol or whatever? You know, my dad and Stefan are kind of, they're yelling at each other like, call the police, call the fucking, I'm ready to fuck this dog up. And my dad's like, all right, you know what I mean? So basically, they call the dog patrol, and I wake, you know, I'm just about awake at this point, and I just hear the dog barking. People are like, I know, you know, trying to talk to the dog, right? I don't remember what they did. I honestly don't. I don't know if they, like, was trying to calm him down and trying to do it, like, I have no idea. I know that they were there, and maybe they took him someplace somewhere, and that was it. And he came home. And then I find out afterwards, right, the guy, the drunk, Brett, all he did was, you know, he walked in, he had some beer, he was drunk, and he was like, he charged at the dog. All I remember was, because, you know, he's drunk, he likes to play too much, right? So the dog's looking at him, and he's looking at the dog. He goes, what? And then the dog said, this is about 2 years or like a year and a half after you first met him. He does that, and the dog's bigger now. He's not like a small little puppy no more. He's low-key a big dog. He's like fucking, I used to show pictures of him to my friend. They said, is that dog on fucking steroids? And the dog just charges at him. The dog charges at him. He said, fuck that, enough is enough. And he bites his face. He bites his arm and he bites his face. And it's bad to the point where there's blood. You know what I mean? There's quite a bit of blood. You know what I mean? So that happens. And you guys also have to understand, right? This dog really, like, we used to feed him like this meat bone or whatever. Like, it was just a bone where there was meat inside. There was one rule. If you see him eating one and you walk past him, don't look him in the eyes. You are walking past him, you look him in the eyes, he's going to growl you. He's like, rrr. And, you know, after this incident, you know, I remember we made cookies, or I made cookies, right? And I put them up, right? I let them cool out for a little bit. He's up there trying to get the cookies. I'm like, hey, get out of here. And I kid you not, this dog's eyes, okay, I tried to go up, try to prevent him from eating the cookies because it's chocolate. They can't have chocolate. His eyes and his mouth was like the most, oh my goodness. Even just thinking about it, bro, they were like the most vicious fucking eyes. Like, stay the fuck away from me. This is my shit. Like fucking, his eyebrows kind of get like, like whatever you want to call it. And like shows his teeth like, I'm like, yo, chill. This is where shit gets really fucked up. So this story took back in like September to December, right? You know what I mean? Now we go back into June 2021. June 2021 comes along. This is summer, right? This is when I think school was practically over. This is June 14th. I hit my homie up, right? You know, we had some weed we were going to smoke. And basically, you know, I FaceTime like, yo, what's the word? You want to hang out? You want to go to like North School or some shit? He's like, all right, bet. Yeah. And we're just talking. We're chit-chatting. We're having a good time. You know what I mean? This is about the time we're selling the house too. So it's like, yeah, bro, we got to hang out before we like sell the house and shit, right? So before I moved to Florida, you know, my dad and his two friends were there. Right? His two friends were there. It wasn't Brett. The fucked up thing is one of the friends had some beer. Now, he didn't do anything wrong. He didn't do anything wrong from my knowledge, right? All he did was he had some beer, right? And my dad walks in the house and he sees that the dog is jumping up. The dog is like jumping up on him, right? And so my dad basically was like, I remember he put something, he was like fucking with something in the kitchen, right? And I remember he just put something down like this. Oh, fuck. Pet his ass. Pet his ass. Like when he jumps up on you, you're not supposed to pet his ass, but like on like right on the base of his tail, like on his back. Like the base of his tail on his back. You basically just scratch that. You know, my brother's friends used to call it a tranquilizer, right? He would just sit down and he would just like, or not sit down, but he would just like, you know, he wouldn't jump on you. He would just chill. And he liked that. You know what I mean? He's like, yo, pet his ass, pet his ass. And then the guy's like, I'm not going to fucking pet his ass. What are you, crazy? And then what I'm assuming is the dog must have smelt the alcohol. And that must have triggered something in his brain that says, yo, this is the guy, or this is some evil motherfucker. My dog didn't like alcohol, is what I'm assuming, because of what happened with him. So basically, this is where it all hell breaks loose. He starts jumping up. He says, I'm not going to pet his ass. And then he bites his arm. Now, that doesn't sound too bad. And not only that, he's wearing like a jacket. And it's kind of summertime. Or maybe he wasn't wearing a jacket. I don't know. But he was wearing something. He had some beer and he bit his arm. Now, when I say he bit his arm, he didn't just bite his arm. he started to basically bite the fuck out of his arm, right? To the point where massive amounts of blood is coming out, and he's basically almost ripping the whole thing off to the point where it's not hanging off, but it's like hanging. You know what I mean? Like the fucking skin's hanging. He's just like, oh, and then, they're trying to like get him off. They're trying to get him off. And all I hear was screaming. And this is when I'm still on the FaceTime with my friend, right? And all I hear was like screaming, ha! Like just like that. My bad, I didn't mean to cough like that. But nah, literally, bro, he does that shit. And my dad, I remember he's like in the kitchen back. He's back in the kitchen. He's trying to like he's scrambling around trying to get some like something to, like food or like the bone meats he used to eat. He tried to give it to him, right? And then eventually they got him off, and he's just still screaming like, ah! And this happened for like a good 20 seconds. And my boy says, all right, bro, I'm just gonna see you later. I'll hit you up. I'm like, all right, bet. He hangs up, and this shit's still going on. But eventually they got the dog off, and there's blood well, not blood everywhere, but there's blood on the grass. There's blood on the dog. It was all fucked up, right? And my mother started screaming because like she knew like this. She didn't know this was happening, right? But in her mind, she went into like a full panic breakdown where she was like, "Why is this happening again?" She started screaming like, "Oh no!" Then my dad walks in. He's got a gray shirt on, and all I can see is like blood and like skin, like flesh. I'm being dead ass on like right on his like stomach area or whatever. He's like, go hug your mother. You know what I mean? And so I hug my mother. She's freaking the fuck out. Like, I don't mean to freak out. There was just a lot of blood. You know what I mean? It was fucked up. Right? And so the dog is outside. We're not letting him back inside, bro. We're fucking scared, bro. My dad, I remember my dad just saying, I don't feel like letting him in. I feel like fucking shooting the fuck. He's like, I feel like shooting the damn thing. You know what I mean? Rightfully so. But then eventually it all comes to an end, and we, animal services or whatever. I left the house at this point. I actually walked out the front door. I wasn't going out to the back. I walk out the front door. I'm like, yo, I don't want to deal with this. I'm just going to go hit up my friend. We're going to chill at the park, or chill at that North School, whatever it was. And we're just going to smoke. That was it. And so I think we smoked like 2 joints or like something like that. And I got word that, the dog, we had to put him down. He died. You know what I mean? We had to put him down. He was too dangerous left to be alive. And because like we couldn't handle it, technically we could have kept him alive, but we just couldn't handle it because God forbid that he doesn't know or he escapes and he kills him, he bites him. You know what I mean? That's a lawsuit on our hands. So we really had no other choice but to put him down, and that was it. So I'm not gonna say I hope you guys enjoy this story, but this is just a story time that I wanted to give you. It's actually quite a good story time. It's like 14 minutes long on my BandLab, but that's it. Feel free to like this video, subscribe, and leave me a comment down below if you guys have any other similar stories. That's it. I'll see y'all later. Peace.